putting it all together, right? Basically, we're just going to run through a couple of really nice trades that use all the concepts all into one, so that we can get a good overall picture of sort of what we look at, right? So we're going to do like this bit of price to this bit of price, right? And we're going to pretend that this daily candle isn't here for the moment. Actually, let's just delete it. We can always fast forward. So, right, we are going to ask ourselves the 3 questions I always want to ask before a trade, right? 1, what is your structural idea, right? 2, do you have SD levels to support this? 3, do you have liquidity to support both of the above? Right, and we're just going to ask these questions anytime we take a trade, right? So now with daily, right, let's work on the structural idea first, right? So we can see here that we've had a big break of structure, right? We can see that we're obviously bearish at this point in time, creating and protecting lower highs, right here, right? So structural idea. Well, structural idea is really that we are expecting something like this, back into this range and then down, right, for another lower high, right? Okay, now, so we can expect pullback because we haven't really tested this range much, right? Like we just tapped into it, but there's other stuff higher up that's a little bit better, right? So structural idea is that we can potentially see a pullback after we have had this change of character here, right? And we'll zoom in on this a little bit. Right, after we've had this change of character here, right? This low goes, this high goes, right? So we can now expect the pullback, right? Something like this shift down, something like that, right? That's the structural idea at this point in time, right? SD levels to support. So now let's start working on the SD levels, right? So what demand levels do we have? Well, we can see here that we've come in to this wick, right? And we have given a reaction, and the reaction has failed. Right, so that's our failed reaction to supply there, right? So what does that give us? It gives us a demand level. Right, and a SD flip. Cool. Right, so we've got a good demand level to play off. Right, cool. We can all agree that. Can we find a good supply level now? Well, what have we got? Well, we've got this whole, essentially, this is our whole, this buy to sell here is our whole supply range. Right? So now what can we refine this to? Well, we've got a couple of levels within here, right? We've got this whole larger thing here, right, that will go down and we'll refine to something a bit better. We've also, I mean, you know, this actually comes out and mitigates that wick, so we do have that as well. Supply. This is a buy to sell that reacts to the wick and flips the low, and we can see that we've only just tapped that, right? And we've also got these levels up here, but we know it doesn't hit that, so yeah, this would be very definitely a good level to look for a short because we've got this flip here, right? Let's just mark out this over here so we can see that that has flipped the bottom there. Cool, so yes, right, structural idea, yeah, we can expect a push up into here potentially, and a drop off, something like that. SD levels support, yep, very definitely. Now liquidity to support these, right? Okay, so let's ask the questions. Well, firstly, right, this has run these lows here, right? So that's cool. That's a run on liquidity, right? Followed by an SD flip, all good things, right? This area here, a bit ambiguous whether it's a liquidity run or not. I would say this whole area is a liquidity run. Right, and now we have available liquidity up here, right, to potentially run, to potentially drop off, something like that, right? And we have this weak low here because it's failed to break swing structure. We know it's not a swing structure break because of the sizes that we use, right? So we have a weak low that potentially acts as available liquidity as well, right? So cool. Right, now we can start going down and maybe refining these levels a little bit, but this is just our higher time frame play, right? So we're still going to ask these questions on 4H, right? So 4H, what do we have? Well, now we can really start seeing these more refined levels. So we can refine this to this, this to these sell to buy wicks. Right, we can see that this is actually a 4H boss as well, right, because we've had a break of structure here, right, followed by a break of structure here, which is the daily chart, so we'll just change that to a 4-hour boss, right, so we've got a higher low. So that low should be strong and protected until it tells us that it isn't. Right, strong. This is obviously weak because it's formed liquidity and all of that sort of stuff. It hasn't broken swing structure, right? So, structural idea on 4H. Well, we're expecting a higher low, but we need to not lose fact of the sight that we're expecting a lower high on daily, right? So higher low to lower high, basically, right? Do we have SD levels to support? Yeah, right. We've got even nicer levels here. This wick isn't mitigated to EQ, so I would just increase this whole range to this, right? And I'd want to go and find a time frame now that that is engulfed on, because that's how I validate stuff, right? And I know this is engulfed on 12-hour, right? So perfect, cool. We're starting to build these really good levels. Again, this really neatly flips that low, right? So we've got an SD flip, right? Let's go back on 4H quickly. Liquidity to sort of vote for. We've got equal lows here. Right, we've had a run on liquidity here. It's 2, right, we can see that we're still respecting bullish order flow. We've got this, draw these. We've got this whole larger range here, right, followed by this large range here. So we're still expecting that, right? If we look at where we're trading from within the range, right, we can go, well, that's our whole range. Are we trading from the edges? Right, yep, like perfect, right? Structural liquidity, everything's combined, right? So now we can go down and we can just refine these a little bit more. Right. So now 15M. Right, well, what are we seeing on 15M? Well, we're seeing that we've had a 15M boss over here. Right, so first things first, we can expect a decent pullback at some point in time. Right. Right, we know that 4H is still bullish, so this could be the complex pullback. Right, like essentially we've had that whole impulse. Right, complex pullback. Right, so we can definitely expect 4H high low. We can, if we break this level here as well. Right, so we've had another boss here. Boss down. right? So if we break this level here, then we can expect a pullback at least, and depending whether this closes below or not, this high could become weak. You know, we've got available liquidity above this. All right, let's go and now see if we've got SD level to support, right? And yeah, we definitely have here, right? The only really unmitigated engulfed sell to buy. Right, and look how those equals just form perfectly above it. Like, that's just like money. You know, that's just people saying, yeah, come, like, hit. This is where we want to trade from. Right, we can see that this has reacted to a larger range, etc. Right, we've got a level of inducement above it. Right, so we're looking at potentially a really good trade at the moment, right? So what does price do? Right, now we want to say, okay, what sort of order flow are we seeing here? Like, what do we want to see here, right? So we've got this whole larger supply range. Right, we can refine this to different things, but yeah, we'll just do the big thing at the moment. Right, we've got this whole supply range here to this break. So essentially we get some form of bullish push from there. So we've got some form of bullish push from there. We see that respected but fails to put in, so that becomes weak. What's the next thing we get? Okay, we get a run on this low here. Right, so now we can refine this to our smaller supply range like here. Right, so really this is what we want to see go. If we see this go, cool, we've tapped into the refined supply, we've run this liquidity now, we still have a bunch of available liquidity up the top. So now let's just monitor and see if this goes. Right. And we don't really want to trade like 1M entries here because we are bearish on 15M. You know, like, let's just wait for it to shift order flow. You know? Cool. Let's rewind that quickly. Just to hear where that goes. So now let's go and investigate this because this high has gone, right? So now we can ask the question, all right, this high is gone. Where are we looking to trade, right? And we might say, you know, we're looking to trade from these, right? But we need to look and see what caused the first change of character, right? And here we can see that we've had this little lower change of character, right? This low goes, this high goes, right? So where's our range? What am I looking for? Sorry. So where's our range? Well, our range is this, right? It's here to here. Yeah, that's our whole range, right? But what do we have refined within there? We can refine this down to this, right? Now we can go and look on 1M and say, okay, what are our refined levels, right? And we can look and we can say, okay, we've got this potentially breaks the range, gets engulfed, all good things, right? So we've got basically this, right? Or we've got the extreme, because the extreme breaks this high here. Right, so this could be inducement for the not fully mitigated extreme. Right, or if we see like a nice 1M Chochin thingamajig, right, Chochin flip here, we can trade that. So let's just sit on 1M for a bit. Right, price comes down, doesn't tap in, gives us equal lows, perfect. Right, I know they're going to get run, so yeah, we'll just mark that as run. Cool. Right, so now we've tapped into the refined levels. This is where the seconds come in, right? We haven't had a chotch and a flip from there. We violated that level, so it's not important. Right, now what happens on the seconds, right? Well, okay, we can still see we've had that big run on liquidity. We can now see that we've got a liquidity target here, on the seconds as well. Right, next question. Do we get a change of character? Right, there's our change of character because this low goes, this high goes. Right, so does that go? Yes, perfect. Okay, now what have we got? Well, now we've got this supply level here. Right, that creates this. So that's mitigated. So we've got this level here. Right, so we can look in here. We've still got this extreme, right? This fully unmitigated wick. So, you know, it's always shit in wicks. So if that gets hit at the, or anywhere around UQ, then we can potentially look to just hit that anywhere in here that we can get a pipper stop, right? Because it's the extreme. If this level goes, this whole level fails, and that's fine. We're just moving down. You know, we were wrong about our direction at that point in time, right? But here, I just want to look and see if we get a reaction to this, right? No reaction. Cool. So now we know that this level here is the extreme, so we can just say anywhere here that we can get like a pipper stop, right, and be sensible of where we cover, we can trade it, right? So yeah, cool. Like hit it anywhere in there basically where you think a pipper stop will protect you, right? Or however much you want to use. You know, it's not exactly big to cover like 1.5 pips, right? There to there. But yeah, you all know me. So yeah, I want a pip, right? So cool, we're in, right? So now the next question is, where's our break even, right? And at this point in time, we'll go through targeting because we should already have targets at this point. Oh. We should already have targets at this point in time, right? Because now we don't, oh, for God's sakes, now we don't want to be creating that. Now we don't want that added mental pressure of, you know, having to manage the trade once we're in it. We want all that decided, right? So cool, let's go and have a look at targets, right? Well, 15M, what have we got? Well, we can theorize that these highs are going, right? If these highs go, really the next significant reaction point would be like this, right? So really this is the first time we want to look for a hedge or potentially take some of the profit off the trade, right? I'd be more inclined personally to look for a hedge here, right? So now we can go and see, and we can say, okay, well, this trade's gone incredibly well so far. You know, there's a potential scaling opportunity there, right? Is it worth partialing? Is it worth hedging, right? Well, running 160, yeah, it's definitely worth partialing at that point in time. And then, cool, price continues to push up, right? So we take partials there, and we can just monitor and see what happens, right? Our higher overall target is like this larger range here, right? You know, so yeah, we can just wait and see what happens. Cool, we hit that, right? Okay, well now again, we've broken structure on 15M and 4H, so now we need to start asking questions about shorts. Right, so structure idea. What is your structure idea? So again, if we just work all of this top to bottom again. Oops, sorry, wrong time frame. Right, daily. What's our idea? Well, daily, that we're going to see a lower high. Right, SD levels. Yes, liquidity, very much so now because we've run all of this, right, and we created this. Right, this will be a little bit clearer on 4H, but yeah. Run and created, so we have a liquidity run and a liquidity target, right? And we have no real valid demand down here. That's, you know, we've got this, yeah, that we can definitely potentially trade a pullback from, but you know, that's for another time. But yeah, we can see now that we can definitely expect that lower high on daily. So now we need to wait for 15 minutes to agree with our structural idea, and 15-minute to give us some supply levels and give us some liquidity, basically, right? So cool, let's go down onto 15M, right? Liquidity, yeah, we've got all of this available, right? We know we create equal lows here, right? So cool, let's just wait and see what happens up here. Right, price now shifts order flow. So the structural idea is that we may start seeing, so we've got our demand level there that gets taken over there. Right, so this gives us our first supply range here. Right, so we can start watching and seeing, because we've seen this reaction to this demand now, so maybe we see a run on this high, maybe we don't, who knows. Cool, this is all like overnight as well, so we don't really want to be trading this. Cool, price runs the high here, so we've got a liquidity grab. Ideally we want to see that new new supply range created. Okay, cool, new supply range, right? So now we can start going and saying, okay, well this is our whole larger range, right? What do we have within here? Well, we've got like these buy to sell wicks, we've got this little range here, and if we zoom in on this, we can just say, okay, well this candle has engulfed two candles, so here's our range, right? So now we want to look for a chotch and a flip within that, right? Cool, we get an aggressive push into it, but we run this high, so that's our liquidity run into our PRI. Yep, we can say that this low is weak because it's failed to create a new swing high. So if we get a chotch back, we can look at that. So now we want to go down to 1M and just say, okay, cool. So structural idea. At the moment, we're expecting a lower high on 15M, right? SD levels to support, very much so. Liquidity to support. We don't have a bunch of sell side liquidity available at the moment, so ideally we want to wait for a bit of a generation of liquidity. Right, cool. We can see here as well, like you might be thinking, oh, but we have a chotch and a flip here, but this isn't the demand level, right? Because this range is broken here, right? So this is the demand level. Here we get no interaction, right? We did get a little bit of interaction from this doji, so we can play a reaction to that, but we get no reaction. So again, just wait and see what happens. Okay, cool. We've had another change of character, right? So we're starting to see bearish order flow, right? This takes out the range, then comes back and respects the range. Now, do we see an SD flip? Right, so this is our next unmitigated supply level, this little buy to sell wicks here, essentially. So, and we need to see a change of character as well, right? Where's the change of character here? Well, the change of character is here, right? Because this is the low, this is the high. So this, no, sorry, we've already seen a change of character. If we see another change of character, that's just added confluence. Touch down, right, let's just, no, that's the wrong thing. Let's just see if it commits to that or not. And we want to see a flip, right? Here we've got some demand. Let's see, do we get a reaction to it? Yes, perfect, right? Reaction gets taken out. So we've got our flip. We can see though that this level's unmitigated. This has got little equal highs here. But we've seen that flip. Right, so cool, let's just see what happens here. Okay, price commit, right, gives us a push to the downside, that next change of character, so we've had two now. So now we can just wait and see and say, okay, we've got this level here, yeah, maybe, who knows, so we can keep an eye on that. Oh. Keep an eye on that level. Right, we can keep an eye on this level. And we'll just wait and see what happens. Okay, cool. So that just gets traded straight through. Perfect. Right, we induce these highs. and we've created, crucially, liquidity here. Right, run liquidity here, you know. So yeah, cool. What happens here? Price trades in. Okay, now we can go down to the seconds and start saying, all right, what happens within here? Right, okay, cool. Well, we've definitely seen a change of character. We've seen a flip. So we've seen a flip here. So you could, in theory, get in up here, but depending on how aggressive you want to be, price continues to trade down. Gives us another flip here, another like a nicer chotch here, right? Chotch down, right? And again, we've got like these levels here. This is our whole supply range. So here, we either want to trade like the extreme, right, up here where we can just enter, right? We've seen that V-shaped recovery again, like beautifully formed V-shaped recovery there. Right, run on equal highs here. Right, trading at premium, all of that good stuff. Right, so now we can just say, okay, well, yeah, we can either trade the reaction to the supply level. Right, okay, we get a little bit of demand formed there when this goes. So cool. What happens here? Right, does this demand hold? Does this demand fail? Okay, we get a reaction to it and it fails. Right, so cool, perfect. There's our supply range, right? Because it's reacted to and then taken out the demand. Right, so there's our entry. Right, because we've seen that logo, we've got another change of character, so order flow has shifted within that. Right, so let's see if we get in on this. Taps in just perfectly, right? And now again, we want to go, okay, well, what are we looking at? Right, where are we targeting? Well, again, if we go just zoom out on 15M, and we say, all right, where's the next demand? Here, maybe, not well priced, is a flip, so yeah, we can monitor here for a hedge maybe. Here, no inducement, right? We can again monitor for a hedge, but we need to be aware of that whole daily idea, right? And that whole daily idea is really that this low over here is going, right? Like, that's the objective in the end. So, you know, we can look for hedges and stuff like that, but yeah, you know, that trade works out pretty beautifully, right? And you see how we've asked all of these questions all of the time. We can support every idea that we've had, right? And yeah, that's basically it, guys. We'll do a couple more of these on like ranges and stuff like this, but yeah, cool. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, peace out, guys. Bye.